about engagement now, and we think about it, it looks like this. And so this is actually, what's the date today? 1990. Oh, look, it's only 11 months old. Damn, you had to hold this in a month, it would have been great. So essentially this is a new model of thinking about what engagement needs to think about. We'll just touch on it briefly today. Which is the dynamic is that of, has this got a pointer on it?
No.
Here's one I prepared earlier, see? So down this side is thinking about where is the source or the leadership point for the engagement. And if we just think about that very simple dynamic of an organisation or in the community. And down the bottom is essentially who's going to do it. Yeah? Now, the only thing we ever really did fight about with this particular model was the colour of each of the cells. I lost the fight about the bottom left hand. I'm told that the colour is taupe. Good. So here is when you're engaging about actually the things that you're planning to do or to have control over. Lots of the engagement that we do falls into that cell. Yeah? So this is when we're asking people about stuff we're planning to do. If you want to go to an engagement conference and look chic, this is the colour to be. This is very cool. And this is behaviour change. So this is when the organisation is leading the conversation, but essentially they're looking for action, behaviour change, or a shift actually in the communities. And lots of your work sits in that arena. It would sit in this arena principally. Yeah, I've got one, lots. Whoa, look at that, wash it, okay, it's all right. No need to show off, you all look cool, it's good. So, and actually, if we were to think about taking that here, it really goes to the heart of what you were talking about, Alison, which is it's no longer that short-term sense of behaviour change, actually it's about life change. And so your colleagues who are running the health conference not far from here, they'll be sitting over here, you're sitting over here, because actually you can't live with a bounce. You can, doesn't seem to be a problem, rains all the time, we're good. And so that's that behaviour change. Up into the top quadrant is, not quadrant, that's 4 cell, is essentially when communities have a point of view about what needs to happen, they're not looking to take on the action, they're looking to change your reaction and your action. And so there are lots of community groups who set themselves up, and essentially they are advocacy groups wanting to change the opinion and possibility of what key target organisations do. So even if you're engaging here, unless they didn't know you were coming, you've probably got an agency who's operating out of the yellow. Yeah? Would that be true? I only need 3 nods just to check. 1, 2, 3. That's it. Good. Got the idea? The pink in the top right far side, which is all the way over there, is actually where the community is leading and doing. It's when they're quietly getting on doing stuff. Sometimes actually they don't want government or non-government organisations involved because actually they quite like what they're doing and they just like to get on doing it. And so that really in that cell, our job is simply to back them to do it even better. If they're doing something that's helpful and they like having leadership of it, our job is capability and capacity building and empowering to have them help that do that even better. But that's engagement. And in the centre, not because it's the aspired to spot, just because it sort of fits there and can come from any of the other cells, is where essentially we need not only to, where we need to have shared leadership and shared action. We need to have people partnered up to agree this is the thing we're going to do, and then we're going to do it, either together or separately, but we're going to do it together. This is the new map for engagement. It is not simply contained here. Yeah? It's simply actually flows all of it. And our job as engagement professionals is essentially to work the hive. How do you use and be aware of all of those segments? Yeah? So with the person you're sitting next to, take 30 seconds to just have, the quick chat, looking at the hive, to think, where does your work sit mostly? I know some of you will sit everywhere, I get that, it's fantastic. But when you think about most of your work, in that cool and groovy kind of way, and you can't all be in the light blue, even though it's the cool bit, yep. Just take 30 seconds to chat about where do you reckon your work sits? Have I got anybody? Now, don't be ashamed. I make a truckload of money here myself. Who lives in the world of talk? Yes? Good to see you. Traditional's good. By the way, even if you start here, you've probably got it all. Yep. Okay, for the cool dudes who are in the light blue, who's here? Oh, look, there'd be 10 of you. Look, that's good, because otherwise if too many do cool. Stops being cool. Who's in the yellow? Who works the yellow space? Look at, just the back row. Fantastic, just the 3 of you. Oh no, and beautiful with a shawl. That was you as well. Yep, fantastic. So that's about 4 of you. Who of you are in the pink realm? This is about building the capacity. Oh look, just the 2. No, you wouldn't want to put a lot of effort into building other people's capacity, would you? Oh no, 4. Good on you, that's right. And the rest of you, you're in the green? Nobody in the green?
We're all in the green.
All in the green, yeah. Anybody feel like you're in everything? Just the one of you. Thanks for coming. Lovely. So the reality is your jobs may or may not fit across all of those. But the reality is actually not just a practitioner reality, it's an impact reality for organisations. And so this is about, when we think about doing great contemporary engagement, we need to think about 2 things to really make that real impact. And that's about having a consistent practice, which is where you might sit, but actually it's also about changing our organisations. If we are the only people in our organisations doing engagement, then actually it won't have enough impact. So we can't just have our focus looking externally, we need to also look internally to change the dynamic of how our organisations think and use engagement. Otherwise, we're just not being serious about it. If we go home each night saying, I fought the good fight, I made a difference, that's fantastic. If we go home each night and think, I fought the good fight, and those back in my organisations, they didn't, then a little part of us needs to feel like we haven't quite done the job. So when we think about contemporary engagement, the challenge is, of course, to do fantastic things with community. But it is about essentially looking to have impact. And if we're looking to have impact, if I think about the kind of thinking out of Gary Hamel in the innovation space, we need to aim for our practice to get better and different. And so that's about changing what we do. And when we think about the organisation, and we think about organisations who are good at engagement, who have engagement in their core soul of operating in their practice, there are some very ordinary things that engaging organisations have. Whoops, not that. The top one is that they get engagement in their strategic intent. They see others as part of the success for their own impact as an organisation. So we've got a client, the Department of Conservation in New Zealand. I don't know what the equivalent is in New South Wales. These people look after our parks and things. Wildlife? National Parks and Wildlife. So conservation, I think, has got a slightly larger remit. But essentially, they looked at the job they've got in front of them. We're a small country, and they said, actually, can't do it by ourselves. You can give us all the money you like, still couldn't do it. And so in their core strategic intent is an engagement intent, which is about basically moving more people into action and contribution, corporates and individuals alike, in terms of their conservation contribution. We think engagement, the big change, is about how we do engagement. Here's the shock. It's not. It's almost irrelevant. The big change inside organisations is changing how we think about doing our work. Instead about starting our work program with, this is the list of all the things we need to do, it's to change that question to say, this is the list of all the things we need to achieve, and who are the best people who can be part of making that happen. And those people won't just be people inside your organisations. It is an ultimate challenge to the role and how we do our work. And so when we as practitioners aim to work with our internal clients, don't start the conversation with, and what would the workshop look like and which venue we should use. The question needs to be, and actually what's the work you need to do, and who are the best people who can make that easier, go faster, or even better. And then how do we engage them? It's the challenge of the conversation about work and role. The shift in terms of capability is that actually it's not simply making sure you've got a skilled engagement team. You need a level of engagement awareness and capability right through an organisation. And the boundaries of an organisation need to become more permeable, because actually the test that we have as community members with our organisations is this this organisation in tune with us? Do they get us? And so essentially, yes. So essentially your beautiful video was people saying, well, no, you know, they were interested in us. Yeah, actually I think they got us. And that's high praise indeed.